Welcome back to the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. I'm Ernest. It's cold this morning. I think it's below freezing. But out here in Utah, it's so dry that it almost doesn't feel that much different than like 50 or 60 degrees. Once it gets cool / cold, it's kind of like just cool. Like if you have your hands out, they just kind of get your fingers hurt after a while. But not like freezing until it gets really cold or it's wet. Like if there's snow on the ground. So we're gonna head up here this morning in true roadside rescue fashion. We have an emergency rescue for a vehicle that lost its belt. And typically this is a little bit further than I normally go, but this is a longtime customer of mine. So we're gonna head up there and get his belt back on for him, see if we can figure out what caused it, you know, and get it back on. So we'll head up there. It's about 30 minutes away. Since it's so far and it's just about, I'm going to take the Rescue Ranger this morning. And one question that I've been meaning to address forever that people often ask is why I wear this do-rag. So it's not a do-rag, it's actually one of those neck gaiters, but I like to wear it around my head because my hair is just long enough in the front to kind of get down in front of my eyes. So it keeps my hair back. It's more comfortable than a hat because especially if you're poking your head around in the engine bay or underneath the vehicle and you're wearing a hat, my brim just tends to get in the way. So this kind of acts like a hat without the brim. Also, when it's hot, it just keeps the sweat from rolling down my nose, down my forehead into my eyes. So I prefer wearing this. Sometimes I wear a baseball hat, especially if I'm not going to be underneath the vehicle. But if I'm underneath the vehicle, a hat just always gets in the way. But thanks for all the support, especially to the channel members. And we'll head up here this morning and get this belt back on. So here we go. All right, so here we are roadside rescuing this Altima here, which I've worked on a few times before, and definitely missing this belt here for the alternator, which is hard to see. In fact, I'm not going to fool around too much with trying to even do anything through the top here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this tire off since it's so much easier to work on through that wheel well there. There's just not enough space here. I mean, probably could do it, but would not be fun. So missing that belt. There's two different belts for power steering as well. I can't see the other one, so I'll just double check that one's there, and we'll get to it. All right, I'm gonna chalk up that back wheel. This is all I have for a chalk because I only have one jack stand with me. So. Actually, I said that so casually, like I just normally use jack stands for wheel chocks. In my truck, I have some blocks of wood, but on the road, sometimes I'll just use a jack stand, like I think pretty much a lot of people have done. But yeah, probably not the best idea. Those brakes look good. Any guess as to who put them on? Yours truly. Yeah, still nice and new. And that's the thing, people are always like, Ernest! I always have to say that if you've ever seen Ernest P. Worrell. I don't know the other actor's name, but there's those two other actors, the one that doesn't talk, Bobby, and the other guy. And the other guy always says, Ernest! Like that. That's how I always hear my name when people say it like that. In the comments, they're like, Ernest, you didn't put anti-seize on that or whatever. But out here in Utah, stuff doesn't really rust. These have been on here for about 4 or 5 months, and that's the amount of rust that they built up. Stuff doesn't seize up. If they lived out of state or were going to go out of state, maybe you know, maybe I'd consider it. It just doesn't rust. So yeah, we don't really use anti-seize out here. Not that it's like an industry standard or anything, and not that it's even an industry standard to put it on the rotors. I like to kind of keep things factory original, how it comes from the factory, and they don't put anti-seize on the factory. So it's not a bad idea. I just don't consider it necessary out here. So we'll get a jack stand under here, since I don't have one under here yet, and we'll get that belt. I see the power steering belt right here just fine, so we'll get this alternator one on and tighten on correctly. I'm not sure what kind of tensioner it has, but we'll figure that out. All right, so this should be pretty quick. We'll be done here in just a minute or two. It's got just a normal tensioner there, spring-loaded tensioner on that idler pulley there. I didn't get an idler pulley for it, so we'll just put the belt on, and we'll double check it's, you know, routed right, running good before we drive off. But if it needs an idler pulley, I can get one. I think they just didn't have any in stock, but I didn't double check. I saw on my app that they didn't have any in stock, but I could have checked. There's your problem. Look at this idler pulley. See how that is really loose? It's worked its way loose there. So I'll tighten this idler pulley down, and that should solve the issue. But the bearing sounds fine. Yeah, we'll tighten it down real quick. Probably do most of it by hand. That's definitely what ended up causing that to wiggle off. Who knows how long it's been like that. All it takes is one random start up or one random wiggle to pop loose. All right, there it is, all tightened up. I hope you could have seen that before, but definitely loose. It's tight now. We'll get that belt on, and we'll call this one a job well done. All right, this one's got that. It's a manually adjusted tensioner, which I thought it was spring loaded, but you reach down through the top here and loosen up that. Well, you got to loosen up the bolt on the front of the pulley first. Then you reach down, you loosen up the long bolt going through the top, and it retracts it. Then I'll be able to push it up, slide that belt in the way, and then tighten it back down. So we'll get this nice and loose. All right, that looks pretty loose. Now, I'll show you what I was talking about down here. You should be able to push this up like that. And then this belt goes on all the pulleys, like so, and then you tighten this back down. As you tighten it down, it'll push that pulley down. And Nissans like to use a lot of these. I don't know why. Every Nissan I've ever had tensioner pulleys like that. It's kind of like an old school thing. Most everything's spring loaded nowadays, but it's not that big of a deal. We'll just tighten it down. There's a specific amount of pressure you're supposed to put on these belts, and there's like these weird little meters that you can use to measure it, how much it deflects. I don't even have one of those things. Half the people that have them don't know how to use them. I just tighten them down to feel. I just feel the belt and see how tight it is. It's really hard to say exactly, you know, describe it. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose, and I've just developed a feel for it. So if you don't have a feel for it, get yourself one of those meters, or experiment with a few and figure out you know, how that's supposed to feel. But too loose is better than too tight. You can burn them off if you get them too tight. I'll just say that. All right, now we put the ratchet in the opposite direction and we tighten this down. Once it starts to feel a little bit of tension up here, we go check that belt, make sure it's still on all of its pulleys down there. Still got that spinning, it's starting to get tight. We'll check those pulleys. Those are all good, so we'll keep tightening this down. There may be actually a amount of pressure you're supposed to put on wrench up here, foot-pound wise or inch-pound, but I don't know. I just feel the belt. If you know about that stuff, maybe let us know in the comments down below. Bingo, that'll do it. So there's that belt on. We've got to tighten up the face of that. Oh, I left my wrench up here. Tighten up the bolt on the face of that pulley now. Like so. You can see that. That keeps the pulley itself in place, but you can't loosen it or tighten it when that's tightened down, and if you leave it loose, that bolt can work its way off, the pulley can fall off. So don't forget that. That's in place. We'll get this tire on and get it on. Let's do that. All right, we'll get the jack stand out. I've already got all those wheel nuts started, so I'm gonna put some weight on that. And everybody's favorite part, torque these down. This tool's in the description down below. It's called a torque meter. I like it better than a torque wrench because it's more versatile. Kind of like one of those electric ones, you know, like Milwaukee and all them make that beep at you. Only this one's a little adapter. You just put on your wrench in front of your extension. People have fits about that. If you put it in front of your extension, it measures the torque from here to your socket, so you're fine using an extension if you put that in front of it. And yeah, it works well. It's really accurate. So all right, there you have it. I'm Ernest. This is the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks to the channel members. If you're interested in becoming a channel member to support the channel, there's a link in the description, or click on the little join button next to the subscribe button if you see it there. And this is a job well done. I'll show you that it's running. I'll show you that the belt's running good. That's what I was talking about. I just checked that and I forgot to include that in the video, but I just remembered, so we'll show that. And it's a job well done. And it's so hard to see in there. There's just no room up here up top, but it's just down there spinning away. Looks good, no wobbling. Good to go.